Cool. Welcome to the finale. Premature and all that jazz. But this is the end of the campaign for Night Out on the DL, which, funny enough, was actually not called this at the start of the campaign. It was called something differently, and we changed it to be DL. I can't remember if it was before you joined Lando or not. I can't remember, but somewhere around.
Before.
Yeah. It was called something else. It was funnier, but a little too personal, some would say. But yeah, the campaign is done. We unfortunately lost a member. I'll kind of just give you guys the gist. So we ended the last session with you guys discovering our boy wonder who had infinite clones of himself. That kind of populated a lot of the armies between Zamorvan Hall, Mithril Hall, and Mirabar. 500,000 copies to be exact. At the end of when you guys got there, you guys also found out that the king was still not magical. Did have magical items, could do all these other shit, but was still not magical compared to when you guys had seen him previously, and he did have a shit ton of magic on him. So that was still kind of perplexing. You guys got back to the man, the myth, the legend of a warrior who once was. See him, a curse activates. He goes up in the air, says some spooky shit, and dies, which triggers all of the clones to die. So that's where we kind of ended the campaign, or the last session, with the king and a bunch of other people like freaking out in the town. They also found out that Biggin had not gotten into the town by normal methods, and there was an issue with that, which I was going to get to with this session. And then at the end of it, there is a large roar. So with the roar, it kind of spooks everyone. They're like, "What the fuck is that?" And after it was probably take you guys an hour to get through the guards questioning Biggin and why he was there without getting in, and then the roar kind of threw everything into a frenzy, and then we'll deal with you after we figure out what this roar is. You guys all head out of town to figure out what the roar is, and eventually you see a massive adult green dragon, and the green dragon is there to fight. Y'all would fight them, kill them, and when they die, Biggin would get his staff back because the dragon had the staff, and they would also have a key to some place within Zamorvan Hall that you guys don't know where it necessarily led to. But there was a key that would drop from that. After getting back, you would find out that the king had died, and there was some kind of link between that green dragon and the king. It seems like their blood and their longevities of life had been tied together, is what you'd eventually would have found out after you guys would have gotten run out of town. After getting run out of town, you would have been able to get back to Silvermoon and find out that Xanarel's father is back to normal. It seems the green dragon was the one who cursed his father. And upon you guys getting back to Silvermoon, all of the dwarven clans would have declared war upon the realm for the death of the king. People in Zamorvan Hall did know that you guys are the ones that killed the dragon, but were not publicizing that information, and instead said that the king was assassinated by some way, and that is a affront to all dwarves, and that's how the war starts. During this time, you guys would have had to probably leave Silvermoon due to it being super close to the dwarven kingdoms and all the issues with that. And you guys would have been reached out to by Garfield to let you guys know, hey, you probably want to come back to the Emerald Enclave's new stronghold in the High Forest, as they're kind of gearing up to kind of stop the dwarven clans from just running roughshod throughout the entire realm, as they are aligned with the giants that you guys are aware of, and that would cause problems. So you guys get to High Forest, deal with that shit.
Did I never get the cool hammer I was supposed to get?
We're fucking getting there, brother. You're not getting it right now. Calm. We're getting there.
Sorry.
He's sitting do I not get to use the fucking hammer?
Well, you were just jumping around a lot, but we're not getting me my fucking blang. It's all right.
You'll be getting it shortly. Don't worry.
I know.
It may require you killing something else before we get there.
Right.
So you guys get back, and then Garfield does some magic stuff on the key, and it turns out that it's a key to a temporal portal that is within Zamorvan Hall that you have to get to, and beyond the key seems to be where the twins are. And
So the twins. So I never got the twins out. They weren't in the treehouse.
you never got, yeah. So when you went back in the treehouse, everything was fine, but no twins.
Fuck. God damn it.
Yeah, sorry, I glazed over that because I was gonna get to that here.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. So then you guys decide to start an offensive on Zamorvan Hall, or maybe a sneaky way. I would leave that up to you guys on how you guys wanted to roll with that. I figured probably sneaky would be best with the 4 of you guys versus the entire RB, but you never know. You know, Lando being angry and not getting his hammer yet. Who fucking knows, right? So you guys infiltrate Zamorvan Hall or fight them, whatever you do. You get to that room and you find the twins asleep. And then your boy Zanril would have cast Remove Curse on both of them. They would have returned back to being infants. All's well that ends well.
Oh, yeah.
And upon reaching the twins again and falling asleep, all 4 of you would have been pulled into like a dreamscape where the gods, or the Greek gods, including Sylvanus, would have kind of let you know that they were wrong. It's actually not Furby that's the chosen one. It was the twins.
Oh.
Because she was with the twins, they thought it was Furby. But now that they are no longer like one entity, right? Because she gave birth. That's a whole thing.
The chosen ones are twins.
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah, the chosen ones are twins. They're not sure which twin is the chosen one because it is only just one of them. So you'll have to figure that out. But you were meant to be their guide. Like you were the one who's supposed to like help mentor them, a la Merlin, right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, which is it's a funny concept with the old man being the. Anyways, so that's what Biggin's whole thing was going to be about. He'd have to figure out how to get. And by the prophecy, it was there would be a god that would fall for the birth of the chosen. So whenever these twins get of age and are like strong enough to fight, they will bring Pan back, is what seems to be like the consensus. Like that's how Pan gets back from hell and back to being a god, is they will like
Interesting.
They will save him and bring him back. But the prophecy essentially was like a god shall protect one of his kin, and from there he will be returned to his rightful place. Something along the lines of that. I haven't written out the exact prophecy yet, but it would have essentially turned out to Mr. Leader is from Pan's bloodline when Pan had his folly with the mortals way back when. Very, very further long down, but he is of god kin in a sense. He's still just a normal regular human guy. Well, I guess now Fearbolt guy. But he does have like an ounce of divinity within him, whatever you want to call that shit, right? So that's where the prophecy gets fulfilled, yada yada yada. But that's further off into the future. You guys still have to create a world that it's safe enough for these kids to grow up to actually live to become heroes, right? So yeah, you guys do that, and then you find out that there is a dragon cult within the Dwarven Kingdoms, and it seems that
we already knew that.
Sort of, you kind of did, but you never really put all the pieces together. You just knew and that was also more Ulrich's kind of thing, which you guys haven't seen hide or hair of Ulrich or Elwarren this entire time. They're fucking gone with the wind. And as you're kind of like figuring this stuff out in Zamorvan Hall and like kind of putting some pieces together, you find out that a lot of the Dwarven captains and like higher ups, all pledged themselves to the dragon cult. And the cult's goals are, as per every cult's goals, are to resurrect Tiamat. And so there were 3 dragons, all heading the different major Dwarven kingdoms: a green dragon in Zamorvan Hall, blue dragon in Mithril Hall, and a red dragon in Mirabar. And it seems that the kings, as of about 100 years ago or so, maybe less, all pledged themselves to whatever dragon is like their like overseer, whatever you want to call it, whoever they pledge themselves to, and their longevity and their life is tied to that dragon, which is why when you killed the green dragon, the king of Zamorvan Hall died.
Makes sense.
And then you find out further that there's a hammer that is known as a god killer or dragon killer, that resides within Mithril Hall that has been closely guarded for many, many years as a way for them to not get got, sort of thing. So you guys then have to make a decision on, do you rush that, or there have been rumblings about the werewolves activities and the issues that are going to be happening with that. So that would be the crossroads. You guys would pick either to take care of the werewolf problem first or the Mithril Hall problem first. It would be up to you guys. There are consequences and like positives for doing both. Clearing out the werewolf problem would have given you guys Mr. Leader back and a way to return him from being a werewolf and like hopefully reunite him with Furby and let him do that shit with them to get them back faster so that Biggin's family's back. But the downside of that is that the dwarven armies would have gained more ground on the realm, and the vice versa with that. If you guys went Mithril Hall first, there's a possibility that Mr. Leader dies. So that would be the kind of the crossroads you guys have to pick. I'll give you the story for both. If you went Mithril Hall first, after a lot of combat and a lot of other like sneakery shit, Biggin, you would have found that there's another connection with these I guess all four of you guys, I don't know why I say one person, all four of you guys probably, actually, now I think about it, the person who's smart here, so Millie Bays, would have probably put two and two together after picking up some items from Zamorphin Hall and then going and raiding Mithril Hall, that the outside advisors are also dragons themselves, but not aligned with the cult. They seem to be different. You're not quite sure what they are or like what their goals are.
Elemental versus the chromatic type dragons, yeah?
Maybe. You're not sure. Like I said, that's the thing you guys aren't able to put together. But you know that the outside advisors are also dragons, and they've been the same dragons, and they're older than the dragons that are kind of running Zamorphin Hall, Mithril Hall, and Mirabar. But not by that much, maybe like 100 or 200 more years than these other dragons. But they seem to be the ones that are like, they seem to have more power than these other dragons. But these other dragons are really pushing for the rise of Tiamat, and they're kind of allowing it to happen, it seems. And with the killing of the green dragon, that was step one for them to get Tiamat resurrected, which is funny. But you either had to spill the blood of the dragon in a certain place, which you guys were, which you would have found out in Zamorphin Hall where that green dragon dies. That would have been one of the special places. And then you either killed the blue dragon, or the blue dragon does a sacrifice himself or herself in Mithril Hall at a certain location, which you guys have not fought the blue dragon yet at this point. And then in Mirabar, the same thing. Either the red dragon has to die in the spot, or the red dragon has to do a sacrifice at that spot. And it can't be just any old sacrifice. It has to be like a life or death fight. And the winning party kind of, does that thing. So that's what you guys would have figured out in Mithril Hall, along with getting the hammer for Lando, which Lando would have used to terrorize the world and me as a DM. And then that, and then if you guys did that first, right, doing that would give you more power to fight the werewolves. However, Mr. Leader's whereabouts would have gone missing at that point in time. Nobody would have known where he's at, and so you guys would probably head towards Gauntlgrim, their like stronghold, and try to fight them out there. Maybe Mr. Leader there, maybe he's not. I would have had to roll some dice to see where he would have been. If he's there, great. If you guys don't kill him, because he's raving mad at that point with how long he's been kind of under the influence of the werewolf and the Lugaroo. Maybe you have to kill him, who knows? Otherwise, he's headed towards the High Forest or the Moonwood. Those are the three locations he was going to be at. So it would just have been a dice roll depending on where he would have been. And then you guys would have to go collect him and then get him to reunite with Furby and your parents, Biggin, and your uncles and the other close family members that are no longer as part of the High Forest right now. And Garfield would have to do all that shit.
They're still on some weird plane of existence thanks to ISIS.
Yep, you don't know, but Garfield might. Somebody would.
Of course Garfield knows. I'd have to do him another favor just to fucking find out.
Or Mr. Leader would. Right? No, I'm saying like there like would have been like a lot of different things that would have been happening, right? And like to be fair, like you like helping rid the realm may have given you some brownie points at Garfield's. Maybe you wouldn't have been a favor. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point.
Cool. And then the final thing that you guys are going to do is go to Mirabar, and either kill the dragon there or whatever. And then the last one would have been Mithril Hall. Whichever way you guys did it, you'd have one last dragon after you killed the other blue dragon or red dragon. You kill that one, and then the final reveal would be all three outside advisors hopping into wherever the last location you guys killed the last dragon as at, and Tiamat would have been sprung up, and then those 3 dragons would have revealed themselves to be a purple dragon, an orange dragon, and a yellow dragon, and they would have helped you guys, the 3 of you guys, fight off Tiamat's the avatar of Tiamat. So what I would do, I would give you each of you what control of one of those dragons, then you guys would do your thing with that. While you fight off Tiamat and like the other like minions of Tiamat that are there, which might be some other dragons, who knows. You guys would beat Tiamat, hopefully. Maybe you guys would die there, who knows. And then the other 3 dragons kind of thank you. And this becomes another turning point, is you can align with them. And like, they're not interested in like causing havoc in the realm. They're just interested in like kind of keeping the status quo now that the Dwarven armies have subsided. Oh, sorry, I missed one thing. The King of Mithril Hall is actually Lando's dad. Sorry, one thing I skipped over.
So
wait,
Lando would have to kill his dad.
The one that we already killed?
No,
was my cousin.
that's the Morven Hall. Yeah.
Oh,
So Mithril
right.
Hall is your dad, but you and Alcazar are his like bastard children because your mom was never married to him. So
Right.
after everything's settled, you'll have a claim to the throne sort of thing. That was why I forgot about that one. Apologies. But yeah, so you
What?
have yeah. So you'd
Yeah,
have
no,
that.
that's kind of terrifying.
I am
So
a god.
that's where the outside advisor comes in, right? Because the outside advisor is like there to help you with like tactics and like how to run a kingdom and shit like that. Because they've been doing it for fucking hundreds of years.
Isn't that Garfield?
No, the outside advisors, the other dragons that helped you. So the
Oh,
Mirabar is the purple dragon, Mithril Hall is the orange dragon, and Zmorvan Hall is the yellow dragon.
Right.
And what they're trying to do is, now that they've killed the aspect of Tiamat, is they want to raise up their patron, which is Tiamat's sister, whose name would have been revealed at that point in time, because I don't remember the name off the top of my head right now. I'll have to find that out and let you guys know. But they would have been trying to revive that dragon's avatar as a way to kind of bring balance to the chromatic dragons and the metallic dragons, because the purple, yellow, and orange dragon, like, and like their like god or whatever, ancestor, whatever you want to call it, is like on the neutral spectrum, whereas the metallic are good aligned, they were neutral, and then Tiamat is evil aligned, so it brings like balance back to the dragon conclaves as a source. So that's what their goal is. So that would be up to you guys if you align with that or if you don't want to do that. If you guys align with that, the campaign would end with you guys going off to war with the giants to settle that issue. You guys have been fighting giants kind of throughout the campaign. It wouldn't have been as big of a point, but after you guys kill the last 3 dragons, for the Mirabar, Mithril Hall, and Zmorvan Halls, like the kingdoms there, the giants would then kind of rouse, and that would start like an epilogue campaign if we had wanted to continue, sort of thing, where you guys are fighting off all the fucking giants and killing all of their leaders and bringing them to heel, sort of thing.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. There would have been like I would have been able to tie up Millie Bays's whole thing about getting all the people to buy his shit, right? And him turning the Dwarven armies. This is why you guys were able to kind of like do this with the other armies, is that Millie Bays had like created this false narrative that these crossbows were so fucking powerful when they're not, right? It would have given these dwarves like a higher sense of confidence in these combat situations, which you guys, like I said, would have seen if we'd played the campaign out. Which they would send less than they should, because they thought that these crossbows were so much more powerful, and they would lose these battles over and over and over again. And they're just like, no, it's obviously the people that are firing the crossbows, not the crossbow themselves that are being an issue. Blah blah blah. So that definitely plays play into that. Silvery Moon and Hexluck kind of become the peacekeepers between the dwarves, the giants, and the rest of the realms, as like the main guild of like merchants that kind of get started out of Silvery Moon, out of Hexluck, because of Xanarel's accomplishments. Biggin, you would eventually reunite with your family, and they would be kind of reinstated in the High Forest, and everybody would remember them, because they would have finished their quest with Isis by that point, which also helped turn the tides of battle by not allowing some of the other gods that align with the dwarves, the giants, to get involved in the combat, as they probably would have if they hadn't gone on their little adventure quest thing. And then the little kiddos are grown up. Lando, you get the choice of being Mithril Hall's new king, because Alcazar has no intention of doing that. You figure that out, whatever you want to do with that. And then Millie Bays, you become the like, with kind of Lando's help and Alcazar's help, you become the main weapons creator for all the Dwarven kingdoms. That was the
even the ones that supplied boof weapons to.
yeah, because they knew that it was for a good cause, because you knew something was fishy. That's how it was sold to them, as a like to like help them swallow the fact that you gypped all of them. But with like, you know, with them now no longer being subservient to the dragons and that brainwashing effect of that the dragons were perpetuating with dwarves are best, right? Kind of that like the kind of Nazism. There are some Nazi parallels within that. Where anyway, so all that dissipates, and after a few years, it kind of gets back to normal where no, we're all equal, except for some of us are just more equal than others when we're just really fucking good adventurers, right? That would have been how the campaign would have ended in like a sort of nicely wrapped bow. But Ulrich would have been, you guys would have found him dead in the Evermoors, and Elwarren would have been caught up kind of fending off the ice giants near the spine of the world, and they wouldn't have, like, him and his parents wouldn't have gotten involved with the Mirror Bar or Mithril Hall or any of the dwarven shit, because they were too busy pushing giants back from encroaching. And then you guys will eventually see him and his parents, and you'll find out that both of his cousins were actually kidnapped by the Mithril Hall king, like the dragon counterpart, because that was the guy that started his family's ruin, and so they got their justice by like, anyways, they got them back, and they did their thing with that. So that's how like all those things would have been tied together. And then Cromwell and his gang of fools roaming around would have been another reason why the giants weren't as impactful as they could have been, and the dragons and stuff like that. You would have kind of seen them like throughout the campaign, just like, you know, like random sessions, like they would have swooped in with their dragon and like tell you guys like, hey, do this, hey, do that, or like, hey, these are things that are happening, like avoid these areas, or like be prepared to fight these things, whatever. And they would have just been like kind of side characters that would come in once in a while. So yeah, that is the super fast, like 20-minute version of how the campaign was supposed to end.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously it would have been cool to see how you guys like changed the campaign up, right? And like different decisions you guys would have made, how that would have changed things up. But that's the like overarching, like very skull and bones of like what the end of the campaign is going to look like. And then the flesh would have been done by you guys as players, which I always appreciate.
It's like an advanced Scooby-Doo plot of like, who's really leading these kingdoms, and just keep on pulling the mask until eventually you get to like the Megazord of dragons is actually running stuff.
Yep. And like I said, like depending on how you guys reacted to those three being like the actual like keepers behind it, maybe you guys fought them, right? And then you still have the chromatic dragons and the metallic dragons continually clashing. And you never get the rise of the neutral dragons to kind of keep them as like a three-way like shootout, Mexican standoff sort of thing. That was also a possibility. Because these other three dragons, because their god was like killed by Tiamat so long ago, it's been an issue for them, so they're like very unheard of. Like you've never even heard of a purple, orange, yellow dragon prior to like you meeting the three of them, sort of thing, because there are not enough of them because they keep getting hunted by both sides, and they don't have like a god to like call upon for power, sort of thing. So yeah, so like I said, that would have been kind of interesting. Would have been kind of interesting to see how you guys played that out. But yeah, I heard that this old, I can't remember what the name of the sister is, but like Tiamat had a sister like a long time ago, like back in the 80s or 90s. There was like a spin-off dragon thing that was created, and that was a whole concept. And I was like, ooh, that sounds really interesting. I heard about that like 8 months ago, and I was like, that's how I'm gonna finish it off. Have these stupid fucking outside advisors be like the yellow, orange, and purple dragons, but they've never shown themselves to be that, so their dragons don't know. I don't know. I thought it was a cool kind of thing. So yeah, so that's the campaign.
I would have been wild to play out to the end.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys would have made it, honestly. Like these dragon fights are going to be gnarly. Chance. Yeah, these Dragon Fighters were meant to be like super gnarly, and that was like it was like his late game power fantasy that he never got to play with.
That I never got to use.
Yeah.
Fucking A. It's alright.
Would have been broken if I gave it to you too early. You guys would have ended the campaign around level 16.
So I would have eventually turned into Merlin. That's interesting.
Yep. Is the fucking arms dealer of the goddamn world.
Alright, that's pretty cool.
He's the real power behind every fucking combat that happens every time afterwards. He decides who actually has good weapons or not.
That means he gets to invent guns.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
finally.
that is actually where his path would have led him to.
Which would means I could have used guns.
Yeah, in the sequel campaign. Like I said, if you'd gone to the sequel campaign, you would have had guns.
Oh wow, that would have been fun.
Yeah, because it would have gone to the point where all four of you guys had like grouped up and like made it out. And because Billy Bays is not focused on like actually selling himself, because he's got this rebel group, he focuses purely on building a new weapon that's stronger and better than what he has, and he stumbles upon essentially what turns into gunpowder, and then how to use the gunpowder, guns. That was the end game for Millie Bays for the next, like for the sequel campaign that I talked about.
Cool.
I'd like to
Wild.
think first Millie Bays goes and it's like, oh look, sparklers! I can add different colors to this, and then it just
Yeah, the
oh,
full
no.
the full Chinese strategy, right? We're like, oh yes, look at this, we can make bangs and like look at the pretty lights in the sky, and then somebody, not gonna say who, is like, but what about weapons? And you're like, fuck, that's right.
Probably either Lando or
It would have been Zanril for sure.
yeah, it would have been Zanril.
So yeah, that's the long and short of it. Any questions or comments or concerns?
No, that all kind of it all makes sense. I think it would have been fucking bananas to play. You know, it would have been absolutely fucking bananas to play.
Yeah, I've been like sprinkling things throughout the previous act to get to this act, so it's kind of cool to like see like how my wild like board of like, oh yeah, what about this, what about that, and like how I looped it all together was kind of fun. I was the crazy man with the male theory, but for a D&D campaign. So yeah, cool.